This is just so disturbing. Douglas Murray spoke about this on my program on Friday, and he just can't believe that the mindset of so many of the Tories. These are supposed to be Tories. Where are their conservative credentials here? What has happened to them? And Douglas Murray himself has been met with threats, even had to move a speech yesterday after the Apollo Theatre got spooked and gave into the angry mob. The speech did go ahead to a capacity crowd at another venue, but that didn't stop the protesters turning up to the wrong theatre and screaming this sort of abuse.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Lyric theatre, shame on you! No much theatre, shame on you!
No one's going to accuse them of being terribly intelligent, but they do wield power, Connor, because they scare ordinary people from speaking. Douglas Murray, yourself, you've got the courage to say how it is, but so many people, it seems, are self-censoring in Great Britain.
Well, Douglas has had unwavering moral clarity on this issue, and he's right. We should be deporting any terrorist sympathiser with a foreign extraction or imprisoning anyone who agitates on our streets every weekend in my home city, London, on behalf of a terror state. We should not be allowing those people who declare their intent ahead of time to launch intifada or jihad and subsume England in some sort of global Islamic caliphate. But the problem is our political leaders are utterly spineless. Or they have this delusional belief that somehow if we just suppress expressions of native culture and censor enough complaints of the British people who repeatedly in the last decade in every election have said we wanted lower mass migration because we feel culturally displaced, if we just silence them enough, then we'll be able to appease even the most radical jihadian because we'll just, I don't know, generate enough prosperity that they like to live in the West and they'll just set their religion aside, I suppose. But this is a delusional belief because these people don't buy into Britain. They extract resources from Britain, but they don't consider themselves our neighbours. And so the moment that they have the ability to hold the whip hand of power by marching through the street and declaring their intent to subvert our civilization, they're going to. And the police are totally cowardly. One very quick mention. When the cenotaph was being protested ahead of Armistice Day, 2 veterans were recorded talking to police officers. And the police officers said, you need to stop putting your Union Jacks against the bollard because we've been told you have to stand behind the bollard. And they said, well, you're not telling them to stop flying their flags, are you? And one of the police officers said to them, there are more of them than there are of us. If that's not telling about the cowardice of our institutions, I don't know what is.
It's submitting to mob rule. This is what happens in lawless societies. It shouldn't be happening in the West, in a first world nation. It really is just a deplorable state of events. And you see this with the following story. We've got a manhunt underway for Abdul Azidi over the January 31 acid attack, which has hospitalised a mother and 2 children. This man had no business, Connor, being in the UK. But listen to the Education Secretary being asked about this, Gillian Keegan. Her response here is just illuminating and frankly disturbing.
How is it possible that someone turned down twice for asylum, who then commits a sexual offence, or more than one sexual offence, is granted refugee status by a tribunal? How is that possible?
Well, I think that's something that more than one person are asking, as you say, and I think my understanding is the Home Secretary has asked for all the details. But this is not really about asylum. This is about, obviously, the attack on, a mother and her children, which was horrific.
It's not really about asylum. Connor, how utterly delusional are the Tories and the commentariat in the UK? Because I've heard this line from plenty of political pundits who want to say, well, this is all just about toxic masculinity and male violence, and we really shouldn't focus on the asylum process.
Oh, yes. There was Caroline Noakes MP, who heads up the Women and Equalities Committee, along with a Labour MP called Ribiro Addy on BBC Newsnight, who went on and said that we shouldn't be talking about his asylum claim, and instead we should be talking about misogyny and microaggressions, the most luxury belief possible, to use an acid attack on a woman and her toddlers to complain about mean words that MPs get over social media. There's also some barrister on GB News that blamed Andrew Tate and toxic masculinity for radicalising this obvious sex offender Islamist who has committed this crime. I somehow don't think TikTok is to blame here. But Keegan, she's not the brightest of politicians, but you can tell by the look on her face that she doesn't quite believe what she's saying, that she feels compelled to say it because she's trying to defend her government's record on immigration, letting through between 50-odd thousand a year illegal boat crossings, plus record net migration of over 750,000 every year under a Conservative government, ahead of the worst electoral loss in 100 years. And they have to keep trotting out this line, number one, because they already want to clamp down on dissent. This is the online harms bill in the UK. So they're trying to use this as the pretext to police social media. But number two, because they can't quite excuse the fact that the Home Office allowed this man to slip through the net and grant him asylum after 2 failed claims and a sex offence on the ground of his miraculous conversion to Christianity. Because this has happened multiple times now. There was a Liverpool taxi cab bomber that did the same thing. And even though there is absolutely no record, by the way, from the local Catholic Church or the Church of England of this man being given a reference by a priest or having converted, and his local halal butcher who said he's a friend, said he's a good Muslim, who wanted to fly back to Afghanistan, despite claiming on his application it was a threat to his life, to meet a wife. They know the entire asylum system is absurd and indefensible. So they have to deflect the issue from their own broken record.
Well, they're gaming the system, and if you make it easy to game the system, you shouldn't be surprised if it's happening. I did love this take from Konstantin Kisin. He said, if politicians put half the energy they've devoted to suiciding our economy through the ritual sacrifice they call net zero into securing the border and removing foreign criminals, we might not be the acid attack capital of the world. Well said there. And on that, the Telegraph is reporting that London Mayor Sadiq Khan is investing £150 million in a secret project to enhance road user charging technology. This started back in 2021 and it's run by Transport for London. It's called Project Detroit. It aims to integrate all the existing green motorist taxes. We've got the ultra low emission zone, we've got the low emission zone charges. They want to put it all into one single platform. And the fear here is, Connor, that this is going to lead the way to a pay per mile road tax in the future. Khan denies that's what the intention here, but no one's going to be shocked if that's precisely what happens.
Well, no, Sadiq Khan is a routine liar. I think that's fair to say at this point, considering the study that he paid Imperial College London over £800,000 in public money to commission in order to justify the expansion of the ULEZ scheme. He said that the findings said that air pollution was costing 4,000 lives every year of Londoners. Actually, it was just calculated as life years. So that meant that a couple of days off of your life, if you were in London in the worst polluted parts every single day, may or may not be knocked off. So he knows he's lying about that. And you'd thought he'd have higher priorities. I mean, TfL was about 6 billion in the hole, considering the amount of payments they've had since 2020. There are 43 knife crime incidents a day in this city since he stopped stop and search because he called it institutionally racist. The Met Police are saying that drill gangs are having their total run of the city. Shootings are up X amount of percent, and they're now admitting rap lyrics in trials. The majority of the kids, the homicides, 90 homicides last year, were from young kids. Excuse me if I don't care more about the fact that kids are dying than the hurty words. And this isn't the only place he's installing cameras as well. I mean, he's already run a pilot scheme for this, according to City Hall insiders. So he's definitely going to do it. A source within the Met Police has told me in the last couple of weeks that they have been taking bus shelters off the streets to implement cameras and audio recording devices to try and stop muggings. Now, something would tell me that maybe if you stop the mass migration and telling every kid that's born here, if they're black or minority ethnic, that they're institutionally racist and they should go out and wreak revenge on society, if you stop that, you might have fewer stabbings and machete attacks. They're not exactly British pastime, but instead he's just going to keep monitoring the entire city.
Connor Tomlinson, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.